Hey there, and welcome to Decoding the Digital Lab with CSols, the podcast that ponders the complexities and the potential of laboratory informatics. I'm your host, Alex Chronis, and in this series, we're sharing insight and knowledge from top industry professionals. Now, in today's episode, we'll dive into the world of AI in the research and development industry, current and potential uses, challenges and fears, and what's coming up in the near future. Now, joining me today is Brandon Henning, the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at STARLIMS, as well as the General Manager of the Lab Step Division of STARLIMS, where he has over 25 years of laboratory, quality, and manufacturing experience. Hi, Brandon. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Great.
Glad to be here today.
Awesome. Now, historically, scientists have faced unique challenges when compiling or managing data sets from a variety of industries. But now AI is offering a powerful new set of tools that can open the doorway for advancement. So, Brendan, can you give me some examples of how AI can be used in R&D?
Yeah, happy to. I think one of the things when we think about how AI can be used in R&D is exactly to your point in the introduction, Alex, which is helping them to more quickly and more effectively leverage the results of large data sets, right? So looking at things like based on the variables of this experiment that I ran, and let's say I ran 2 or 3 thousand experiments to try to get to one result. Um, which experiments, which characteristics, which reagents, which things that I consume, which processes that I use got me to the result that I was really trying to achieve. I think that's one of the best ways to leverage AI is to accelerate getting to data results, making decisions more quickly, and then being able to take the next step in your process much faster than you could traditionally when you were doing things in a traditional notebook, LIMS or ELN.
Right. I've worked in manufacturing where we've compiled large pieces of data that could be a huge manual process going forward and a headache really to try to understand it, try to narrow it down to what you're looking for. What about sort of the idea of a human AI assistant or collaboration tool? How does that really help out with the data sets that we're looking at?
Yeah, I think from a collaboration human assistant perspective, there's just especially in R&D, a lot of repetitive work that oftentimes is just manual data collection over and over and over again, where you could create AI agents leveraging models where they're running those things for you. So the scientists can really focus on looking at the data, finding the breakthrough results, getting the products created more quickly, and focus less on just the manual repetitive activities that we often find as part of science, right? I mean, even at LabServe, we talked about trying to make science more fun and less grind because there is a grind in just that repetitiveness of running experiments over and over again in R&D and doing that work.
Right. So I'm hearing large data sets, management of complex data as well, plus also AI can be a research accelerator to make sure that we are,
Yep.
driving forward and cutting out some of this manual process that we have here. I was also thinking the other day about idea generation and how AI could identify research gaps or even potentially provide testable hypotheses with all the data that you're sort of analyzing. In general, improving throughput and maybe gaining efficiencies throughout the workflow or workflows that you do to gather, analyze, and really look at the data.
Yeah, and I think the other thing AI potentially does, which oftentimes we don't talk about, is I think it will actually make being a scientist more enjoyable. Like we are seeing a decrease in the number of scientists coming out of schools wanting to do research just because of the grind of the work, the repetitiveness, the running the same experiment over and over again, testing the same thing over and over again, and taking so long to get to the breakthrough result, which is really what's exciting about it, right? Whether it's a drug or a new food product or whatever. So I do think AI really can help just make R&D more fun, a more exciting career, and really help us get to some of those breakthrough results.
Yeah, so it looks like AI can provide a major leap forward from traditional research methods of gathering and analyzing the data. So, how does AI apply to various industries in the research space, like healthcare and manufacturing? I would expect that maybe some sectors would have different needs, correct?
I think each sector will have different needs. I definitely believe that when you think about AI, especially in highly regulated sectors, right, that AI is going to need to be more controlled. It's going to need to be validated. It's going to need to have the safety features around it that we would expect from the same regulations that we deal with today, whether it's 820 or CFR 21 Part 11 or the various regulations that AI is going to need to make sure that it doesn't break any of those standards of science. So there are going to be different needs there. There's going to be different needs in terms of volumes of data. So definitely like in drug discovery, especially early stage drug discovery, you tend to be doing a lot more data analysis than potentially if you're just thinking about a new formulation of a food product that you already make or potentially a variation of a food product. So there's going to need to be data processing power and things that are different depending on the use case. But ultimately, with all that being said, I think where we will land is models that are purposely built for the practices and processes that we're trying to achieve that will allow us to leverage that AI and get to the results that we just talked about.
So, what kind of data would be different within these industries? I know healthcare probably is looking for new therapies and whatnot. Manufacturing, where I'm more akin to, would probably I would be identifying potential forecasting or process concerns. Anything else that we would take a look at for maybe healthcare versus manufacturing, or maybe even material space? What kind of data would be coming out of the research sector, really, for those industries?
Well, it depends on how you define healthcare, but healthcare could be leveraging AI to find and better predict the path of a disease, right? So let's say you start seeing a bunch of flu in Arizona of a certain type, and then you see it in Milwaukee. You might be able to start to analyze that data more quickly to determine, hey, this is the flu we're going to have for the season. These are the vaccines we want to start to release. And maybe we released a variant of that vaccine that wasn't the one we needed. And we could get to the areas with a better version of that vaccine faster where the flu hasn't progressed yet. So if it's, making a course across the globe in a certain way, that's a different kind of data than you would use in, let's say, drug discovery, where you're doing a bunch of testing of different genomes you've broken down or different biologics or therapeutics that you're trying to put together to come up with a treatment for a certain kind of disease. Let's say you're trying to do a certain kind of therapeutic targeted cancer discovery. That's a different kind of set of data. But again, I think the models can all be built to manage that, but the data sets will be different. And I think depending on the use case, like we said, could vary in size. So again, public health, huge sets of data, drug discovery, very large sets of data. When I think you get into food and some of those things, maybe smaller sets of data you could focus on. The other thing you could use it for is if you're thinking about applications like metals mining, things like that, like variations of the areas you're digging and the soil quality and being able to further predict more effectively, like where's the best place to mine. Because today it's a lot of, you just drill in and hope you find something. So there's so many applications that companies that leverage informatics products like we're talking about today could leverage AI to better effectively manage their business, especially when they're in the R&D kind of early stage discovery phases.
Right. I can definitely relate, as I worked in manufacturing with researchers, and can see the potential immediately. So now, not everything is as rosy as it seems, right? As with any transformative technology, fears and challenges tend to emerge. So it's not all perfection, right? So can you give us maybe a few examples of what challenges researchers are faced using AI within their work?
So I think the number one thing that we tend to hear that is maybe not a real challenge, but certainly a fear is that AI is going to replace people, right? Take their jobs away, take their work away. But when I think about that, I really think that's less true than I think the fear would lend itself to believe. I mean, ultimately, we need great scientists. We need people doing R&D to discover the next version of the next great product, the next drug that's going to solve cancer. AI is not going to do that on its own. AI is going to help us do that more quickly, more effectively. And like I said earlier, I think it's going to make the life of a researcher much better. But at the end of the day, you still need that researcher. You still need that person who's going to do that work. And we're already seeing shortfalls in the market, gaps in the market where, we're hoping that AI will actually accelerate desire to take these highly important jobs that we need globally to continue to advance. So I think that's one fear that we hear, but I think ultimately that's not going to play out quite the same, especially in research. When you get deep into like process execution, manufacturing, yeah, like just like robots do, right? There's probably some jobs that will get replaced. So it's not globally true, but I think it depending on the scale of what you're trying to do, um, there is probably less truth to that fear than there is just pure fear. I think the other thing that we think about is back to the conversation earlier is compliance and standards and validation and all the things that we expect from a safety perspective. Those are still going to need to be in place, right? Like we know that AI it tends to go rogue. We know that it sometimes will create shadow results that need validated. Like the AI models are far, far away from being perfect. So we're still going to need to keep safety guards in place, regulations in place, things that ensure that we're actually producing with efficacy and effectiveness.
Yeah, so I'm hearing um, concerns with jobs being lost or being replaced, and then rogue technology of accuracy and reliability, maybe hallucinations or fake data being introduced within the tool, right? Can you provide any sort of tips on how to address or resolve some of these concerns and challenges?
Well, I mean, again, I think as we talked from a job perspective, I think that's just a fear more than it is a true reality. So, like, I would encourage people if you're interested in this work, continue to be a scientist. We need them. We're as vendors, we're trying to make tools that make your job more enjoyable, easier, get you to the result you're trying to get to more quickly. And we're leveraging AI to do that and other great technologies. But at the end of the day, we still need the researchers. We need the kids in schools. We need the scientists coming out of schools. We need those resources. In terms of safety, I think we're all still responsible for the results that we produce, right? So we've got to do the final data checking. We've got to do the actual analysis. I would encourage if you're doing real product discovery, right, to do some steps outside of the AI to make sure that you can reproduce it on your own and that the results are valid. We still have accountability to ensure that the results are true and that the data that we're getting is accurate because there's just to your point too many hallucinations, unrealistic data models and things that are created by AI that you can't just assume the AI is going to execute everything for you and it's right.
Right, right. For me, understanding the challenges and having methods to address them gives me sort of a greater sense of security about AI, especially when we're navigating or not sure if what we're getting is accurate or not. What about what do you think about the future of AI and R&D? Where do you think that we're going to be going in the next couple of years?
So, I mean, we're AI. First, let me say AI is here to stay. I think at some point we thought it might be a fad. Some talked about whether or not it's a fad or not. I don't think AI is a fad. It's here to stay. And I think where we're going to go is continuing to build models and build capabilities that reduce the complexity of analyzing data, reduce the monotony of the continued kind of repetitive things that scientists do and R&D teams do when they're trying to do discovery. And we're going to find ways to accelerate that and help us get to the breakthrough results more quickly, whether that's through continuing to build large language models with global data that we have to help do drug discovery for diseases that we have got data across the globe that we can analyze more effectively, whether that's ML that replaces monotonous kind of same work over and over again. There's all kinds of ways to think about AI, right? It's not just large language models. There's ML, there's other kinds of AI, but we're going to continue to invest and make progress in leveraging all of those tools to make R&D better, safer, more effective, and faster.
Great. Now, Brandon, as our expert guest today, what's your one tip or piece of advice that you would offer our listeners who are looking to excel at AI in the R&D space?
My piece of advice is don't be afraid. Find a use case and get started. Again, it's not going away. We all need to somehow find a way to make friends with AI. So find something that you're comfortable with, find a use case, and really get going. And I think you'll find once you do, you'll be amazed at how much you can get done, how it kind of changes the way you do your work, and how much efficiency and fun it can bring to your everyday tasks.
Awesome. Thank you for the tip. Now, that's all the time we have for today's episode. If you like this topic and want to hear more industry trends, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. We also have a newsletter that highlights current events on a weekly basis, which you can sign up for at the link on the screen, or check out the episode bio for the link if you're just listening. Thanks very much.